Good morning and welcome to the Fusion 360 mini challenge of the week. This is week 1. We were given the following to redesign, and we're just going to go through this very quickly. I'm not going to describe each one of the commands. So let's have a look. The very first thing we see is the total dimensions of this thing is 60 millimeters by 115 millimeters long. I'm going to design that using a rectangle. Let's jump into Fusion 360 here, and we go, give me a sketch on here, give me a center point rectangle, and I'm going to say make it 60 millimeters by 115 millimeters. And there is the outer dimensions of our model. We go and look back at our drawing, we'll see that it has a 30 radius rounding at the front. So let's go back and do that. There's more than one way to do this. You could use a sketch fillet, etc, etc, etc. I am going to use an arc. So I am going to very simply say I want to create a 3-point arc, start point, end point, created something like this, and then I'm going to use constraints, get our arc to do what we want it to do. First things first, I'm going to tell this edge to be tangent on here, tell this one to be tangent on there, and I'm going to tell this one to be tangent there. And then lastly, I'm going to tell this point that you have to be on this line, and this point that you that line, and there we have our rounding. You could put in a dimension on this just to prove it for yourself, but it will tell you that putting in a dimension will over constrain the sketch, but it is radius 30. Now we don't need these lines anymore, especially this one. So I'm going to convert that into a construction line. Then I'm going to use break that line over there and that line over there into more than one piece. And I'm going to convert these into construction lines as well. And there's the basic shape of our design. Going back to the drawing, there's a 22 diameter hole in front, center diameter circle, 22 millimeters, and the dimension given to us on the sketch is that it is 83 millimeters from the back. As you can see, it is not 100% the same space as where your rounding in the front starts, even though on the sketch it looks like that. The point here being is use your dimensions to draw your sketches. Don't make any assumptions about locations. Finally, that circle is not fully constrained because it does not know on what level it needs to be. Let's fix that. At this point in time, because our circle is not based on exactly being on a center line, to enable that we need to create a center line through our sketch. This is very simple. You grab your line there, see the little triangle that defines the midpoint. Grab this line, make it a construction line, and now we can say that this point of the circle needs to be coincident with there, and now we have a fully constrained point. Next up, a fully constrained circle. Next up, we look at our drawing again, and we see these little blocks and spikes that we need to create at the back. Very first thing I'm going to do is create the line on the rightmost section, which was given to us as being 60 millimeters away from the back. So let's go there, I am going to create a rectangle, 2-point rectangle. Say create it over here somewhere, just make sure that it's on the lines. Now we can dimension this and this to say it should be 13 millimeters thick, and we can create a dimension between this and this to say this should be 60 millimeters. We also need to create another one of these rectangles, there, there, and it also needs to be 13 millimeters, and there are those two rectangles. Next up, if we look at our sketch, is these little bits that stick up. We can see they should be 15 millimeters wide each. Let's go back to our sketch, to our Fusion, and we say, once again, use our center point, our 2-point rectangle. We're going to create these over here and say this should be 15 millimeters. And then continue with the 2-point rectangle, create another one here, create another one, create another one over here, create another one over here, and to dimension them, use a new trick, say make it equal to that dimension. From here to here, to that dimension from here to here is equal to that dimension. And we should have a fully dimensioned sketch. Although it seems we have some other problem here. It does not seem to be fully constrained. That line, some other reason, did not decide to apply its constraint linear to that line. Thank you. Okay, and there we have all the basic requirements for the shape of our model when looked at from the top. And let's start and say this whole thing at the front should be 13 millimeters high, and then the hole needs to go through it. Stop sketch, get in 3D mode and say extrude this by millimeters, and should be fine. Better turn your sketch back on. If we have a look from this point, we need to extrude that entire back end by 19 millimeters. So let's go ahead and do that and say extrude. And now we are going to grab this, 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 and this. And we say extrude it by 19 millimeters. Make sure your operation is join and OK. Next up from our model is the pins at the top. It will be the easiest to do because they are given to us as being 60 millimeters from the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. Extrude, and to make this a bit simpler, you can turn off this body for now. Select 4 pins, turn your body back on, and now we say this needs to be 60 millimeters up. Operation should be join, and looks about right. And then finally we need to do the pieces in between of there. And those are going to be extruded to be 20 millimeters down from a total of 60 millimeters. So they need to be a total of 40 millimeters up. Let's go back. Extrude, switch off our body, say that part over there and that part over there, on our body again, and as we said, it is 60 minus 20. Operation is join, and you should see something similar to that. And that is the basic shape that we are going for. All done. Now all that we have to do is our 10 radius fillet, and we can do that easily by hitting fillet, this line, and putting in a radius of 10 millimeters. Okay, switch off the sketch, and there is our completed model. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy next week's challenge, which is live at the moment.